Welcome back to 128KB. In this episode, Gran Turismo 7 gets off to a rocky start. Ghostwire Tokyo is coming and we're excited. Hogwarts Legacy.
Oh yeah.
There's some big news. And a Billy bonus. One of our favourite games.
A Billy bonus. We are looking at the Ascent.
So, Andy, Gran Turismo 7 is getting off to a bit of a rocky start.
It is,
Some could say a false start.
Ooh.
It's a racing pun.
Love it.
Now, you're not a massive Gran Turismo fan.
No.
Coming from the world of Nintendo.
Yeah.
It is a game that I always buy.
Yeah, is it? Yeah.
Yeah. And my history of Gran Turismo 7, Gran Turismo in general, is I'll buy it, I'll play it for about a week, and then I'll give up because it's too hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
It's very sim.
Yeah. This is the kind of game that I'd play around someone's house. Do you know what I mean? Like someone else will have it, and I'll be like, "Oh, sweet! Like let's have a go," and I'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
But not enough to go and buy a copy.
Now, the first thing first, they've done some huge technical steps in this game.
Yeah.
Visually, it's amazing. The ray tracing in the replays of the races are beautiful.
Nice.
It does look really sweet.
Yeah.
They've done some really clever AI development for the NPC that you're racing against.
Yeah.
So you'll be racing against 12 other cars.
Right.
And before, they were programmed pretty basically.
Yeah.
Now they'll learn and develop to how you've overtaken them in the past and stuff.
Wow.
So it's really tech what they've done. And obviously, it is becoming more and more of an online experience as well. And this is where the problems occur for Gran Turismo 7, isn't it?
Yeah. It's going a bit Chocobo GP.
It is going a bit Chocobo GP. So there was a whole 24 hours of disruption because the developers in their infinite wisdom have forced you to always be online when playing this game. So you have to be connected to their server even when playing single player.
Yeah, like offline. Yeah, but you have to be online.
That seems insane to me.
Yes. Yeah. What?
Why?
So there was a 24-hour or however long it was server outage, which meant you couldn't play the game at all.
Not cool, man. Not cool at all.
Okay.
And there's also now people getting very angry about the amount of microtransactions that they've snuck into the game.
The game is like a live service thing. Yeah.
And you know we hate live service games.
Yeah, I mean, again, we've just been talking about Chocobo GP on the other channel, and this is exactly the same thing. You know, it's like, why? Like, why do you need that? Just release the game as it is. Let us play offline and unlock everything as it is.
Now, in the defense of Gran Turismo, what I assuming they've done is that you can put in your own money to buy credits, which is the in-game currency.
Yeah.
And from that, you can then buy anything you want. Now, the beautiful thing with my experience of Gran Turismo was always that you have that sense of development. You win a race or a tournament, then you get a bunch of credits, then you go and buy the next car for the next type of race.
Yeah.
If you can bypass that just by buying it with your own money,
where's the sense of achievement?
Yeah.
It's like buying someone else to do your homework. Do you know what I mean? It's like you've just failed.
It seems totally pointless to me. But people will transact with it. People will do it. And the developer and publisher will inevitably win from it, which is why they put them in there.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, I understand it. If you're super busy job, let's say you work 2 jobs and you only get a small amount of time to play and you're like so far off progressing, and then maybe you're like, oh, you know what, I'll just buy some credits and get a good car straight away. I kind of understand that, but in general I don't really like the practice of it. It should be optional, especially being like online at all times. Like, why? Like, I understand if you're going to play online, then great, you know, go to the online lobby or whatever, but just to play the single player
have to be online,
like, that's stupid.
You're asking for issues, and straight away within the first week of launch they've had a whole 24 hours of issues. Now, despite this, it's still the #1 selling game currently in the UK.
Here
PlayStation
in the UK.
charts.
Yeah.
But that's to be expected. It's Gran Turismo 7.
Exactly. Yeah.
They come out once a console generation. They're always the big poster boy for that console.
Yeah, it's the heavy hitter, isn't it? Yeah.
It's almost a year late. It was supposed to launch with the launch of the PlayStation
really?
5.
Yeah.
They had to delay it.
Yeah, true. It's been a while now, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's been long awaited. It's always a huge game, so it's always going to sell massive. It's like if FIFA was released once every 7 years.
Yeah.
It's massive, so it's going to sell well. So I would take the success of the sales with a pinch of salt compared to the enjoyment that people are getting out of it.
Yes. Yeah. People are going to just hype by
course.
You like, just because it is what it is. And it does look cool. And from what I've seen of it, it looks amazing.
Does
and
look
from
amazing.
what I've heard people chatting about the gameplay, like ignoring all the microtransaction stuff for a second, like just the gameplay, people were saying like it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like it's really, really good. But it is let down by the live service nature of the game, which
I don't understand why they need it.
I don't either. Like it's just another money grabbing technique, isn't it? But
yeah. Microtransactions one thing, but the live service thing, that just doesn't really...
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah, no, me either.
But, that is Gran Turismo 7 in a nutshell.
Pretty much, yeah.
Huge issues at the start, a bumpy start or a false start. I'm here for the puns. He's here for the looks, the puns. Yeah. So, moving along to a game that, when it was first announced that the PlayStation... what do they call them? They're not Direct.
State
that's
of
Nintendo.
Plays?
State of Plays. That's it.
Yeah.
Last year,
we talked about it.
Ghostwire Tokyo, and we were like,
This looks good.
it got delayed, but like everything seems to have got delayed at the moment. But it's dropping March 25th. That is the end of this week.
Yeah, that's real soon.
That's exciting. I did a preview on it on the channel because I was so excited for it. A true first-person action horror, I guess you would call it.
Yeah, and I like that. I like that it's kind of bridging both paths, because as far as I'm aware, they were going down the true horror alleyway, and then they kind of at some point changed tack and like was like, oh, you know what? Let's make this a little bit more like actiony.
Yeah.
So it probably appeals to more people.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's got like almost like a martial arts kind of, obviously because it's set in Japan as well. That makes sense. But man, this game looks cool.
Yeah, big supernatural thing. You've got like superpowers almost. Like it looks very cool from a first person's perspective. Obviously, I haven't actually played it because I downloaded the prelude thinking, I'm going to get a good 20 minutes gameplay on this. Yeah. Nah.
Just talking.
I had about 20 minutes talking before I realised, okay, this is just purely text-based.
I want to address this because after downloading the demo with the same intention, like, sweet, I get to see, maybe it'd be the first chapter or something.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Because a lot of developers at the moment are launching a demo and your progress can carry over to the full game.
Like Kirby Adventure or Chocobo GP, like all that kind of stuff.
What a great idea.
Yep.
So I was like, sweet, I'm going to get into this. It'll be the first part of the game, first 10 minutes maybe. And no, it's just chatting. That's made me a bit concerned. I'm worried that if this game is either... It has to strike a perfect balance. It's either its story's so good that it carries it through, or it could be it's just a lot of talking and it's a bit boring.
I think they're trying to build the hype by deliberately not giving you any gameplay and building the backstory, because it's, the prelude chapter or whatever. So it is just like an anime style, like manga style thing. It's just like literally like a text-based thing, isn't it? The demo. So I think they're just trying to build that hype to be like, look what...
When you think back to everything that's been released so far from the game, there's very little actual gameplay. A lot of it is just it's going to be the cutscenes.
True, that is true. But what I've seen of the gameplay, it's very full on. All I've seen is like action, like combat. I've not seen what like goes on in between that. So like, do you get to like walk around freely, like that kind of stuff? Do you know what I mean? I've just seen people like throw in spells and whatever that's going on. So I'm kind of intrigued.
Then it goes on to the other part that I'm curious about this game with is first-person horror. There's not a huge amount of first-person horror, although we're starting to see a couple dripping out now. There's this, and there's Ikami as well, which is coming out.
Yes, yeah.
Which is first-person horror.
And then you've got stuff like Resident Evil 7 and Village, and then like Outlast series, those kind of things. But they are like more traditional horror rather than like action horror, I'd say. Even though like Resident Evil 7 and 8, you could kind of say are more action, but they're super jump scare. I'd say they're more horror based personally. And this looks more action. Yeah, it's exactly that. It feels like it leans more on the action side. But I really love those experiences, those first person horror experiences. Yeah, if they're done right, they're very good. Yeah. And that's why I'm kind of like intrigued to see what's going to go on with this, because it was like going to be horror. And then they were like, nah, let's take it back a notch. So I'm like, well, where does it sit on that line? Are we going to be like changing our panties, or are we going to be, just kind of like chilling? When they're done right, they're very claustrophobic. They're very immersive, obviously, because you are experiencing it in the first person.
and that's awesome. Yeah, and being more action-leaning game, they could have very easily gone with the third person.
Yeah.
And that would have made a lot of sense.
It would have. But I'm quite intrigued because it is like an action horror. Like you said, being in a first-person perspective really makes it seem real. Do you know what I mean? Stuff's in your face. Yeah. You're way more connected. Whereas when you're like stood behind like a character, you're kind of just like, oh yeah, whatever. Whereas it does feel a bit more like urgency and stuff when it's right in your face if you're the person.
Yeah.
And that's where I think they changed it to more action because they went, okay, this might be a bit intense because it was quite fast-paced or whatever. But I really like it. From what I've seen of the gameplay so far, what they've shown, like I want to jump into this game.
Yeah, I'm excited.
It's very cool, and I'm a fan of like Resident Evils and stuff. And obviously the director worked on
Shinji Mikami. I hope I've said that right. Yeah, Dino Crisis, and he worked on some of the Resident Evil games. Yeah, it's got the pedigree. The stuff that's been released so far, apart from the demo, look really exciting. We've only got a few more days to wait, and I really hope for Tango Gameworks, I think that's what they're called, for their sake, that this is the success it should be.
Yeah.
Because I would love to see more people making these kind of games.
Yeah, there's big hype. I mean, it's being done by Bethesda, isn't it? So
yeah,
there's quite a big clout behind it. There'll be a lot of publicity. So I'm hoping it gets a good rap. It'll be a little while till I get it, I think. I'll wait like on the back foot a little bit.
That brings me to just a side note really quickly. PS5 games at launch, we're typically about £70 now.
Yeah, they've gone up, haven't they? Yeah.
How's that make you feel?
That's why I'm not buying it straight away.
Yeah, I'm the same.
I'll wait until it gets reduced.
Yeah.
And then I'll get it,
In my mind, there's like a threshold. It's like £50 is max.
Yeah.
Above that, I start getting a bit edgy.
Yeah, that's why I like Nintendo. You can buy a brand new game for like 35 quid on some places.
I believe you. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
But this is my problem going back to Gran Turismo. You pay full price game for it.
And then you have to buy stuff.
And you've got to be online. Great.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Nah, it should be free. And then implement all that rubbish.
Yeah. Going back to microtransactions, stepping backwards. The reason Fortnite, for everything I hate about it, the reason it's so successful is because it's free.
Yeah, of course.
It's free to play.
If it was a 50 quid game, it would have had a quarter of the success.
Yes.
So...
Yeah, anyway. So, moving on from a first-person horror game that we're excited for to a game that I think every gamer is actually excited for.
Oh, really?
Hogwarts Legacy.
Oh!
Yes. Obviously, we had the State of Play last week.
Yep.
We learned a lot about it.
Yep.
You got excited because it's coming from the Nintendo Switch, which is quite mind-blowing.
That's insane.
We don't know how they're doing it yet, technically. But there's been some... In amongst that news, there were some really interesting points about Hogwarts Legacy that actually plays into what we were just talking about.
Yeah, literally rolls straight into it, isn't it?
The website has confirmed officially there will be no microtransactions in Hogwarts Legacy, and you don't have to be online to play it.
Yeah! So an actual real game in 2022.
Yeah, a real physical
game where you can buy it and play it.
And that's it.
That's it. You can just buy it and play it.
Wow.
No rubbish attached.
I'm so relieved that such a potentially huge game hasn't gone down the obvious route of how do we squeeze every penny out of the player.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Because this is going to be a big seller. It's going to be a big seller. Like all the people sort of my age that grew up with Harry Potter as children, they're going to buy it. And that's a lot of people, like a lot of people. And then above and below that age group as well, it kind of filters through. And even if you're not a fan of like the books or anything, this looks like an amazing RPG game,
I'm not a massive Harry Potter fan, really. I don't even think I've seen all the films.
Yeah,
that's how I am about it. But what I love about this is that it's set in that universe, but not following one of the stories, the obvious things.
Exactly. Yes.
It's like set in that universe, so anything goes that's okay in the Harry Potter universe.
Yep. That's what I really like about it.
But yeah, let's make a proper role player in that.
And you can actually like completely customize your character.
Amazing.
And you're not just like a 10-year-old going into like year 1. You're like 15, 16.
Yeah.
Like going into year 5, I think
you're
it is.
like fighting.
Yeah. So you're like jumping straight in. You can do all the spells and stuff. It looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like it really was mind blowing. I was watching the State of Play like planning to. I know, like Nintendo, yeah, but I've got a PS5 and I love it. Got it at launch.
We let him in.
But, you know, I love the PS5. And this was the game I was like, I'm buying that launch for PS5. Even if it is 70 quid, I'm buying that. Watch the state of play and everything was like, oh, yes. Like, this is looking like it's ticking all the boxes. And then,
visually, it looks beautiful.
But just all of it combined. Visually, the gameplay, like all the options you've got. Like, this looks so in-depth to everything that you can do. And, like, the spells that you can have, like, where you can fly, like, everything that you can do. It just looks mind-blowing.
Do we have an official date for it yet?
No, it says
autumn.
This holiday is what they say.
Right,
so in America, end of year. Yeah, it'll be Christmas.
It's worth the wait, and they're doing the right thing. Release it at Christmas time. It's going to fly.
It's going to be
quite literally
ridiculous. And people like me, I'll buy it on the PS5, and if it does come to the Switch, well, then I'll buy it on the Switch as well.
Yeah,
you know, and pray that they do cross saves. Because if I could play on the PS5, save it,
don't say that,
and then take it away on my Nintendo Switch and carry on, that.
Could you imagine
amazing.
if they do that?
It's possible. It is possible. It's been already
Take
implied.
Take it away on your commute. Play it on your Switch handheld.
Yeah.
Get home. Yeah. Open up where you've left off.
On your PS5. Yeah. Because this has already been implemented in other games. So you can already do this. So is it Dying Light? My memory's jogging. I think on Dying Light, you can save on the PC, download your save on the Switch, and carry on. Pretty sure it's Dying Light. If it's not Dying Light, there's other games, right?
Yeah.
But it is there already, so it's potentially a thing. So I really hope that they thought about that, because that they will then know people are buying 2 copies.
Yeah.
They just know.
Yeah.
And that's, if there's no microtransactions, screw it, we'll sell the game twice. You know?
I can't imagine we're alone in being people that love and own a Switch and a PS5 or 4.
Yeah.
I can't imagine we're alone in that.
No, I don't think so. I think it's the most common pair up, I would say.
Yeah, because they represent totally different parts of the gaming market.
You cover almost everything with both.
Yes.
You know, if you've got the PS5 or 4, just a PlayStation, let's say, and a Switch, you're like almost getting everything right there and then.
That would be epic if they can cross-play, cross-save.
That would be insane.
That
would be buying 2 copies off the bat for me.
But just off the bat, let's say no online, no microtransactions. It is the polar opposite of Gran Turismo 7, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. And the other benefit is if it is like good on Switch, which we'll see, is if you've got a partner and you both want to play, well, it's a single player only. There's no co-op or anything, but one of you could be playing on the TV and one of you could be playing on the Switch at the same time, and you could help each other out or whatever. Like, it's pretty cool.
It's just, I'm a little bit sad there's no co-op, but I mean, it's too big a game.
I'm glad there's not, to be perfectly honest, because it means they've really focused their attention into what you're actually going to be doing.
Very true.
You know, they haven't like gone, let's take this chunk of money and just randomly put co-op in. Do you know what I mean? They put all the money in the good stuff by the look of it.
Yeah.
So
moving on from something that is totally single player to something that is a proper couch co-op.
Oh, yeah. And
we're excited for this. The Ascent.
The Ascent.
It's been a long time coming.
Yep, Bruce Willis is back.
Right. We'll get to that.
I know.
It's been a long time coming. It was released on Steam about a year ago.
Yeah, I didn't even know that.
You didn't even know about it. I was like, mate, the Ascent's coming out this week. And you're like, what's the Ascent?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Check the gameplay out.
Yeah.
So for those of you that don't know, it is a cyberpunk-styled twin-stick shooter. Imagine Diablo set in cyberpunk.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much nailed it on the head there. And
it looks so cool.
It looks amazing.
So a proper RPG crawler set in a sci-fi environment. So first of all, there is not enough good sci-fi games.
No.
And I'm not talking about flying in space shooting stuff. No. Just not Star Trek.
No. And there's plenty of good like flying sci-fi stuff, you know, like ship racers and whatever. Like you got No Man's Sky and all that kind of stuff.
Or games like Chorus is another one. It's really good.
But I'm on about like games like this, set in like a cyberpunky sci-fi futuristic world, and you've got guns and stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like this is harking back to PS1 era for me. Like there was a lot of games on that. I can't remember. There's one that I always forget the name of, and you're like on a game show. It's a sci-fi thing. You're on a game show, and you just have to. It's this kind of game, and you have to like take out waves of enemies, and you progress through the game show, and it's amazing. It's very that much like kind of feel, and like you said, Diablo 3 like is what I'm feeling on this game massively, but mixed with that sci-fi element. Oh, it looks so good. And then when we learned it was co-op, like local co-op.
Up to 4-player?
Yeah. Like
4-player
and
local
online
co-op.
as well, but
Yes.
local.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Totally cool. There's not enough good sci-fi games.
Yes. 100%.
There's not nearly enough couch co-op games.
So true.
It is where gaming came from.
Yeah.
It's multiplayer when I'm stood or sat next to the
It was
person.
the only type that was available. We didn't have internet on the consoles.
Yeah, and although I love online playing, there is still such an important place for being able to sit next to someone and play a game with them.
Yeah. There's so much more to it. Do you know what I mean? It's such a better experience, I find, when you're like, come on, let's arrange a date or whatever. You come over, let's grab a pizza, slap the game on and play it all night. You know, because that's what we used to do when we were younger. Whereas now it's like, I'll just call you up and we'll just play.
Yeah,
it's
on the
fun.
headset.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's not the same.
It's not the same. It's not the same.
So this is cool. You can do both, online or local co-op. That's awesome. For me, yes, it had that Diablo cyberpunk feel, but it also reminded me a little bit of why I loved Metroid Dread.
Yeah.
Now, totally different game. I'll accept that. Except Metroid Dread's obviously a Metroidvania, kind of 2D-ish.
Yeah.
But it was the sci-fi element of it, and that's what I really love about Metroid.
Yeah, like alone on a planet.
Yeah, and you've got futuristic weapons.
Yeah.
It's just cool.
Yeah, it is.
That's how it feels.
It is cool. And I feel like it's a very 80s thing.
Yeah.
Like when you think of like Total Recall and all these kind of like movies from the 80s and the games that were spanning in the 90s for like the PS1 and stuff, it was still kind of tail end of that.
Yeah.
And then they kind of just disappeared. Now, me growing up like in the 90s, that's what I was consumed by, the 80s movies and the 90s games that were all in on the sci-fi stuff. I loved it. And then as I grew up, there was like kind of got less and less and less and less and less. And it's like, okay. And so now, you know, this is looking really good. And for me, this reminds me of a PlayStation 1 game, which not very many people know. I think it's called Apocalypse.
It's called Apocalypse,
yeah. And it's Bruce Willis. Literally, you're Bruce Willis just running through like some sci-fi place.
It's so obscure.
Amazing.
I may own it, but I have never played it.
Oh, right. I've still got the original disc that I've had since I was a kid. And when I sold my PlayStation when I was a bit older, because I needed money for probably Nintendo stuff. No. But when I sold stuff, I kept that disc back.
Yeah.
I couldn't let go of it. Even though I didn't have a PlayStation, I was like, I'm keeping that game.
Yeah.
And I've still got it. And now I've got PlayStations back. You know, I've bought all the old consoles back and stuff. I've still got it. And I love that game. This is like, cool. Ingrained in my head. And this looks like a continuation of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, it's got all those, and PlayStation 1's actually a really good way of describing it. It's got all those good sci-fi games that you saw on PlayStation 1. Future Cop, LAPD.
Yeah.
Those kind of like sci-fi, let's blow stuff up with futuristic weapons.
Yeah.
Man, it looks ace. I can't wait for it. It's coming out on PlayStation. It's also coming out on Xbox if you're dirty. It's already out on PC for the Steam. Not coming to Nintendo Switch though.
Not yet. Let's hope. Let's hope they bring it, because handheld is the way to go.
I think it will. It's obviously it's harder for developers to. The more platforms you develop on, the more expensive it becomes.
Yeah. But if it sells well here, then maybe they'll push it over to Switch. I mean, it doesn't look like a very demanding game. Do you know what I mean? Like, it'd be easy to sort of downgrade it a little bit.
And the beautiful thing with a game like Ascent, because it's a smaller developer, it's a smaller game, it's quite cheap as well. I think it's 20 odd quid, wasn't it?
It's like 25 quid launch on PS5.
Boom, I'm buying it.
Yeah, I'm buying it. Yeah. I think me and Christina would love playing this because we're big Diablo 3 fans. And this is just Diablo 3 with the sci-fi skin on it.
Yeah, and it's got all those, for those of you that love those RPG elements, it's got all of that. You can choose your character, customize them, all of that kind of RPG stuff.
Looks amazing.
And how you progress is obviously dictated by the choices you make. Love it. Can't wait for it to come out. And what a great way to end the show on a real kind of like positive.
Yeah, definitely. We kind of started on a low and then we kind of like picked it up and up and up.
Yeah, so if you like ending on a high, then why don't you watch one of Andy's other videos from the Nintendo channel?
Oh!
I've got to put it. I don't know what it is yet, but isn't it exciting that in the future we will have decided that there's something to watch there?
Do it, yeah.
And if you like PlayStation stuff, make sure you subscribe here. And until next time, bye.
See ya.